Helen, tell me about your family life growing up. Are you from here in Lake Charles?
I am from here in Lake Charles. I am the baby of 12 children, 6 boys, 6 girls, and nowadays I let my students know it's all from the same mother and father. We grew up in the same household, 3-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, and I am surrounded, have always been surrounded by love. Love, discipline, true sense of family. My mom is my father passed away on New Year's Day 7 years ago, and my mom is left. She's currently 87 years old, and we believe in surrounding her and showering her with what she gave to us as children. Love. I tell everybody I'm the only one that was planned. Like the rest of them were just going with the flow. So with me, they were all leaving the house on their way to college and military. And it was me and my mom and dad and my brother until he left, because everybody's a step ladder until you get to the last 3 children. So it's a 2-year gap, then a 3-year gap, and then me. So I had it made. My other siblings would say that probably I got away with murder, but I actually saw them try things that I wouldn't have tried in a different lifetime. So yeah, I'm like, hey, that's gonna get you in trouble, so you probably shouldn't do that. So I think being the youngest, it gave me a different relationship with my parents, because I saw the trial and errors and the things that they went through. So I kind of knew what to do and what not to do. Still was a kid and did stuff I didn't have any business on, but I got the love from both sides, the love of parents and then the love of my siblings. My brother Charles played football for Washington High School. He was fire. He went on to play at McNeely. Then he gave back and he started coaching, coached for Washington Marion, coached for Iowa track. And the spirit of pouring into people. I always saw him pouring into people, pouring into other people's kids, my sisters, taking care of their friends, taking care of people in the neighborhood, doing things at the church, just always giving. And even though our family was huge, we always had cousins that came to the house. My mom had this big pot, this big Magnolite pot she would cook out of. And as a kid, I thought the pot was so big, and then I was an adult, I'm like, that pot wasn't that big. But it was a magic pot because we always fed everybody. Nobody ever went without. So I was raised to see a family that didn't necessarily have a lot, but always gave a lot. And that is what impacted me, constantly giving of yourself, not expecting anything in return. And that's a dying, I'm the last of a dying breed, I think, in that situation. But the village was not dead. My father poured into people in the neighborhood. Him and my mom did things for people at church and nieces and nephews. And again, big family. And I think that's what made me who I am. As a matter of fact, I know that's what made me view things through those types of lenses, that, you do what you need to do to get what you need to get, but always looking out for somebody else. I had Elite Dance Line, and I had these kids from 6 years old and up initially. Then I moved to taking them in at 4 years old and up. And this weekend, Helen, rewind. We went to, when I had Elite, every year I would load them up on the bus, take them to Grambling State University. We march in the homecoming parade because I wanted them to see the college experience. So we go to Grambling, we march in their homecoming parade. They go to the game, and when the bands would play, they would dance in the stands. And we do that probably till about halftime, get back on the bus, come back to Lake Charles. Well, this is the senior year of a little girl that I've known since she was 6 years old. And she decided to go to Grambling. And I hadn't been able to make it to any of her games because of the new position that I had. And I told my daughter, I was like, hey, we need to make it to her homecoming. So didn't tell her mom anything because her mama can't hold water. And we snuck up there and we surprised her, and she immediately burst into tears right before she was getting ready to go line up to march in with the band. And it was just like full circle to see, I took the time to drop a seed in a kid. And that's the thing I love about children. Like, it's so genuine and authentic. And if you can impact them, then the butterfly effect of it is something that is truly amazing. So popped up there, and immediately when she saw us, immediately burst into tears, and I hugged her. And just watching her perform, it like became full circle that she used to be the little girl on the other side of the field, and now she's a graduating senior, and she did it. And it wasn't about dance, it wasn't about 8 counts, it was about showing somebody something and then them deciding. And she's the first college graduate in her family. So just truly beautiful. But social media, her mom did this post, and I was just like, oh, nobody ever had to know that was the moment that we shared, but her mom was full of gratitude, and she was full of gratitude. She did a post. And yeah, it's like I didn't do it for, the praise or any type of, fame. I just did it because it's the right thing to do, and you show up for people when you love them. So yeah.
Let's talk about education. What got you into education? What made you want to be a teacher?
Oh, well, like Martin Luther King had a dream, I had a dream.
Yeah.
I was a little girl, and my mom said she could hear me talking in my sleep, and I said, watch out, students, they broke my pencil. And I was protecting the kids in my dream from the monsters, and I was fighting with the pencil that I had. Have always wanted to taught my baby dolls, taught my baby cousins. I've always wanted to be a teacher. Kids in the neighborhood, selling frozen cups and raising money so we could go and buy their school clothes, and rode the city bus, and this is at 12 and 13, to take them to go shop for school clothes. School. I've always loved seeing people's light come on. So I've always wanted to be a teacher. And ta-da! Started off at J.D. Clifton Elementary. From J.D. Clifton, I went to Ralph Wilson, and I did 10 years between the two of those schools. Moved on to Moss Bluff Middle School, where I was there for 16 years. Taught a combination of things there. Did math, and then I did Louisiana history. And then I got creative arts. And I was like, I done hit the jackpot. You mean I get paid to play? I can just make up whatever comes into my head and play and create plays. And today we're gonna decorate apples to show differences. And yes, I was there for 16 years. And then a lady I met by the name of Dr. Lisa Morgan had the gift to convince me that LaGrange High School needed me. And I believed in the vision that she had. I was like, okay, this lady believes that she can change this school, she can turn it around, and she said she needed my help. And so I prayed, and I headed on to LaGrange High School, and I started teaching civics there. And I was in amazement. I tell everybody I was gonna get a shirt that says, I've never seen anything like this before. I'm listening to, I call them my baby gators. I'm listening to my baby gators, the way they're talking to one another, the way they attempted initially to talk to me and in front of me. And I was like, oh no, that's not what we do. It's not what we do. And I'm also a believer of when you're dealing with children, you have to show them better. So once you set the expectation, and it can be exhausting, but once you set the expectation and you don't deviate from the expectation, they're going to try to give you what you expect. So it became that. The way to their hearts was through food. And again, Dr. Morgan gave me leadway. So they would walk on the hall in the morning and like, what Miss Daniel cooking? So they come peek their head in my classroom, and it's gumbo today, or it's red beans today, or it's nachos today. And so you're sitting in my classroom, and I walk by you as you're doing your bell ringer. Do you want your gumbo like rice and gravy, or do you want it like like gumbo? I want it like gumbo. Do you want a potato salad? Do you want a boiled egg? I want potato. Can I have both? So I'm feeding them, but I'm also feeding them and nurturing them in a way that I feel like that I think they needed. Yeah. And so it planted something in them that, first of all, my thing was your stomach will eat on your back if you are disrespectful. Mm-hmm. But when you give in to me, I'll also give to you. And I love cooking, so that was a way of me doing what I love. And I love teaching, doing what I love while I'm doing what I love. So It was a win. And on days that I didn't have the energy to cook, there was always cereal in my room, noodles in my room, and I didn't mind any of that, because as long as you clean up your mess, as long as you understand there are others that have to come after you, like it was in my household. You know, my mom and dad never locked up food, or this is what we got, and I need you to look out for your brothers and sisters. And so I brought that same spirit into my classroom, and over 100 and something kids.
How did you obviously engaged the kids by showing that you loved them and cared for them, but how did you engage them into learning something that's really, to most people, kind of boring?
Well, you have to relate it to what they know, real life, and they're gonna grow up to be citizens. So as they're complaining about something that's happening in the world, or even though it's not supposed to be that way, in my opinion, when I think their viewpoint is skewed, or you shouldn't be viewing it that particular way, I would add it into the bell ringer. I can remember when there was the shooting in Mamou during Mardi Gras, and we were having a discussion about it, and one of my boys, one of my sons, his viewpoint on that was skewed to me. Like, he was excited about the guy having a switch, whatever they add to the firearm to be able to make it shoot faster. And I was listening to him, and I just took a step back, and I was like, oh, he's excited about violence. And so I let him finish talking, and I said, what color do you want me to wear? And he looked. I said, what color do you want me to wear to your funeral? I said, because, sweetheart, your mindset and the way that you are viewing this like it's something powerful to own a gun and to take someone's life. And we're going to a Mardi Gras parade where we're going to have fun, or a concert where we're going to have fun, and you see someone lose their life in front of you. That's not how you should be viewing this. And he was kind of taken aback. And at the same time, we're rolling right into Black History Month, and I was telling him about Emmett Till. And I said, you saw how Emmett Till's mother cried for him. And he looked up at me and he said, Ms. Daniel, my mama would never cry for me that way. And I got chills, and I was like, oh my God, like, these babies, what they come from is not what I came from. So it also caused a different light to turn on for me. Like, okay, Helen, what do you do for the child that hasn't felt that kind of love from a mother? So reality check for me, it gave me insight, and it told me I had to take a step back and figure out a different way to reach children that had things that other kids or other people may take for granted. The audience was definitely different.
Yeah.
If let's say I leave and I go to an in-service or a training, I come back and I got teachers write-ups waiting for me in my door. And so I get the secretary to call all the kids down, at least 3 at a time. And I got them sitting in my office, and I explained to them how when something happens, you are judged by a jury of your peers. And I'm the 11th grade administrator. So I got the 11th grade students sitting in there, and they're all in there because a teacher has said, you've fallen short of the glory. Mm-hmm. And so they're listening to each other's stories, and they're saying, well, you knew you shouldn't have did that, and this and that. And I'm timing it because I need them to understand you're taking time away from me doing something that could be fun for the school, but now I have to discipline you because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. So they're listening. I let them decide what they think the judgment might be, but then I tell them what it is, what the decision is that I've made. And one little girl told me, she said, Miss Daniel, you can't save everybody. And I can recall my daddy saying, Helen Avery, you cannot save everybody. But I want to save everybody. And even though you have all of these successes, it's like, that kid that you know mm-hmm. that you didn't reach, is the gravity of that is huge. So I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't figured out how to cut your losses, because we're talking about human beings, and I don't know. So yeah, I don't know how to.
And you may never, and unfortunately, that's okay, I guess. But you won't know that until you know.
Right, because some of it shows itself so
Right.
many years
Right.
later. Some
Right.
of it, you know what I'm saying? I can
Sure.
remember when I taught little boy in elementary school. And this was a time when you could paddle. So I used to be that teacher. You know, they would all look at me because I looked like a little kid. Like, you ain't going, I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm going to get it. I'm going to put it on your mind. So I can recall I paddled him. And he still loved me to death because, again, discipline wasn't always the candy that I gave you to rot out your teeth. It was always honest, but it was fair. And so he had gotten this issue one day or whatever, and another teacher came and was talking to him, and he was like, she was trying to get him to say something in a negative light, and he was like, no. You know, I knew I didn't have any business doing whatever. Miss Dane, and she told me I was going to do blah, 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 and I'm like, yeah. So later on in life, we fast forward, I received a letter from him because in one of our heart-to-hearts, I said, sweetheart, I said, the jail or the graveyard. I said, I don't want to visit you in either one of those places. And he wrote me a letter and he said, Miss Daniel, you know, out of all you tried to give me, I didn't listen. And he's writing a letter from jail. And so it's that, like, you know, because you don't want that. You don't want that for them.
Yeah.
You don't want that lesson to be learned at all. So.
Yeah. Tell me about, okay, was it in the civics class that you came up with the play on Black History Month? What brought that about?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'm watching the kids and I'm like, as well as my the faculty members, and I'm like, y'all, there's a better way. Like, it does not have to be like this. I don't necessarily have the recipe on how to make it better, but I was just wondering if they could see what I saw. How would they view it? And so I was new at the school, and I went to Dr. Morgan and I said, hey, who's over the Black History program? And she said, you are. So I started laughing. I was like, okay, here we go. So I started writing. And I'd done plays with Elite, like all of my different recitals always had a play that went with it. And then when I was at Mossville Middle, when a kid was getting bullied, so I decided to write a play about it. So I wasn't new to anything like that, so I decided to write a play. And the idea was, if Dr. King were alive, would he say LaGrange High School is his dream come true or his worst nightmare? And I went out and I questioned the kids first. And you had their viewpoints again was, I love it here. You know, you got LaGrange High School has the university program. So university program asked some of the kids in what we call the U, you know, how they felt, how do they feel? And they were like, I love it. And I was like, okay. And I asked some of the other kids, are you kidding me? And so making them understand as well is that we write the story. It's whatever you deem it to be. Like, if you think this is a nightmare, then what do we need to do to change it? And if this is a dream come true, how can we make it better? So anyway, write it up and started looking for kids. Hey, making an announcement. You know, you want to be in the Black History program? So I got a bunch of kids. Some of them I didn't even teach, just wanted to be a part of it. And we have the theater program. So I got a couple of sprinkles of kids from there and some kids that had never acted a day in their life. And we met after school and I made up a dance routine to go with it. And everyone was nervous because you can't have them all in the auditorium together. They're gonna fight. And met with Dr. Morgan. She was like, "Oh no, we're gonna put them in there together, and they're not gonna fight." I was like, "Yes, okay." She got the juice. She's not scared. Yeah. So decided that the beginning of the play would be a fight. It would be a fight that's impromptu, that no one would know about except the people that the powers that be. So I brought in the sheriff's deputies that were there. And I told one administrator about it other than Dr. Morgan. And at the very beginning, she gets up and she does the introduction of how, you know, we're going to have a moment of silence, you know, for the people that paved the way for us and this and that. And I had the two young men in the very front to stage a fight. And the teachers didn't know, and they jumped up, took off running, and they trying to do whatever. And the kids are all rowdy and excited about it. And they pull them apart, and then the auditorium goes completely black, and the sound of the purge comes out. And now we have their undivided attention. You know, and the music was, "Do I have your attention? Do I have your attention?" And we did the little routine. So now they're all engulfed in it. They're like looking, they're hanging on every
Their
word.
attention. Yeah, yeah.
So
you had them from the beginning.
yeah, we had them from the beginning. Address several different things that I deem to be issues, but trying to get them to see themselves. So we had one of my diehard elite moms and classmates. She came in and she played one of the teachers, and she's trying to call roll, and the kid is getting spicy with her, and she puts the kid out of the classroom, and the kid, it progresses. The mom is exhausted. I've tried to do all of this with you and you don't want to do it, and you don't understand that this is where you're going to end up if you don't get it together. And the young man that was the narrator, he's basically saying, do you know how many people have paved the way for you to just have this moment, for you to be sitting in a classroom getting educated, and this is what you're choosing. So from there, it told the story of Emmett Till, and I made my debut as Emmett Till's mother in the play. Never acted in one of my plays that I've ever had, but I was just like, I wanted whoever did it to be able to keep the kids' attention and for them not to think it was funny. So I did it, and you could hear the kids sobbing. So we fast forward. I addressed them using the N-word with one another, the way they speak to one another. And if you're not speaking life and success into each other, then the opposite of that is death and failure. And so you could hear the kids, like the teachers told me in the classrooms after that, all throughout the day, come on, y'all. She just talked to us about that. Come on, y'all, we got to do better. And again, you don't necessarily know what tree is going to grow from the seed that you've planted. But for me, it showed, hey, they want to be better. They want to do better. And they heard me. And so we'll see. The middle schools and the other places were like, bring it to us. Y'all need to come and perform it for us. And sometimes you know what your strengths are and your weaknesses. That's a great idea. I would love to do that. I got to figure out how to put that into motion and show it to the younger kids and show it again, because we videoed it or what have you. But as far as being able to put it on again for another school or them to see themselves in another light, I hadn't gotten there yet. But I do think it's important that they're told the truth.
And it was something apparently that was organic within you and the school at the time.
And hearing the kids talk about, man, Ms. Daniel, I don't want blah, blah, blah. I don't like coming to this school. And I'm like, oh no, that's not what your high school years should be. Yeah. It shouldn't be fighting and mess. And so now in this new role that I'm in, I try to have moments that's what your high school years should be. So I had a couple of kids that want to do homecoming proposals, and I made it. I helped them out with it. We did one during a pep rally. We did one where we walked. Two of them. We walked into the cafeteria, and you could hear the kids, and they're clapping. And I'm like, they want to be just kids. So we got to quit making them grown before their times or giving them. They got the rest of their lives to be adults, but we got to understand that we still got to guide them. We still have to lead them, and we got to be honest with them about, hey, what path you choosing? This path could bring you down this road, and it can do this for you. So I do think that it's very, very important to not give them a bunch of sugar, and it's really something else. We do need to be honest with our babies and try to direct them still, because they think they know everything, but they don't. And they really do want your guidance, even when they tell you they don't want it. You just got to kind of be savvy. And we got more cards in our deck than they do. We got 51 cards in my deck. So you only got 14 and 15. So I'm going to help you, even if you don't want my help. Yeah. I find myself saying sometimes, do you want me to tell you the truth? Or do you want me to tell you what you want to hear? And they'll say it all the time. Every time that they come to me, I call it, I have duty in the girls' restroom. And, you're in there to make sure they don't have their phones, they don't have their book sack, and they aren't doing stuff they have no business doing. So I've named it Toilet Talks. So when they come in there, they're like, Miss Daniel, let me tell you what happened. And, engaging me and telling me all about whatever is going on in their lives or what have you. And then I'll say, okay, do you want me to listen? Do you want me to tell you the truth, or do you want me to tell you what you want to hear? No, I want you to be 100 with me. I'm like, okay, blah, 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 blah. And I speak to them like a mother, because some of my kids don't have that. And, so you got to give them something they haven't had to get something that they've never gotten. I coached at Washington Marion. I was a dance coach there for 6 years. And I remember in Moss Bluff one day, we were having dress-up day 12 days before Christmas, and one day was Snowman Day. And I bought this big old blow-up snowman suit. So I'm walking around, and all day that I was at Moss Bluff Middle, the kids, can I give you a hug? And they just was so happy to hug the snowman. And so then I said, I'm going to wear this to my practice at Washington Marion. So I load that blow-up suit in my car, and I drive on over there. And they didn't know if I was Olaf or Frosty. And I was just like, okay, I'm calling the time warp, because I just knew y'all would know I was Frosty.
Right.
So I get to Washington Marion, I get out of the car, I've been hugged all day. And the next thing I do, I know I'm getting pulled from the back of my neck by the costume, and I get myself together, and I turn around again with this big blow-up suit on. It's like, what are you doing? I wanted to see if it was connecting. I said, oh, two different audiences. So I had to get my mind together to address my new clientele. And I'm like, oh, babe, look, I was all excited. And then once they knew, oh, I shouldn't be like that with her.
Yeah.
Then I got a different response. So you got to kind of know your audience. And yeah, some kids come from a financially sound situation, but they're still being parents would never say it's neglect, because they're thinking, I'm giving you everything that you need, but some of the things that you need are not monetary, some attention. So yeah. The truth of it is, we say over and over, it starts at home, but we're in a society of, what if it didn't start at home?
Yeah. In the first place.
And you're still going to get them in your classroom.
Yeah.
So it didn't start at home.
Yeah.
You still got them in your classroom. What do you do with that? It's going to take a movement to change the culture, and to make them see that they are more than who they think they are. Because they'll quickly tell me, Ms. Daniel, you leaving your phone right there, somebody gonna steal it. I said, quit saying that. Quit thinking that about us. Quit thinking that about yourself. Y'all lost. I said, no, we lost. If we played a football game and we didn't win, my babies will say y'all. And I said, no, we. And we have to start looking at it collectively and getting them to buy into what they're capable of. So I'm still praying. I'm still working. So it's a work in progress. If I get to a stage where I can no longer make an impact, I think it's time for me to go. And I think sometimes people stay somewhere way too long. Like, you got to know, like Kenny Rogers, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. So when you can no longer do things to the degree that it needs to be done, and to where you're effective and efficient, it's time for you to go. In my brain, I would love to hit my 33 and then roll out. And right now I'm at 27. My good principal, I call her the head crocodile. And it's like, no, she's a gator. I said, she's a gator, but you do know gators and crocodiles can exist in the same pond, the same environment. I say, but crocodiles grow bigger. They grow bigger than the gators. Right. I'm going to let her be the crocodile and keep this swamp together. She's like, no, you got to stay at least this many more years. But she and I both agree, like, if it comes to a point and we cannot effectively and efficiently do what's needed to move that school, then we shouldn't just stay here for a paycheck. Like, way too many times people stay somewhere and they're not doing what's needed to be done. So if it becomes a point where I'm not being effective, I need to go. And I want to fly the friendly skies. I love cooking. I can get me a food truck. But I shouldn't. So in a happy world, 5 to 6 more years.
Yeah. You were shaped by your parents first. Now that you're in education and you've gone through with all the children and the kids, has it reshaped you? Or has it just molded you a little bit better? I guess that's what you're asking there.
Right. The refinement.
There you go.
Yeah. And it's amazing because you get jewels from everywhere. I tell you, a little girl said, Miss Daniel, you can't save everybody. And I can recall 2 little girls being in my office. And I was talking to them about skipping class and being tardy. And so they're listening to another young man that had gotten in trouble for something else. He had gotten in trouble for, I gave him chips because his money had gotten stuck in the machine. And he was like, my money got stuck in the machine, blah, 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 this and that. And the other administrator was like, it ain't time to be in the machine, get out of there, whatever, whatever. And I felt sorry for him. So I said, come here. And I opened up my drawer and I gave him a bag of chips, and he saw some cookies and he said, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. I said, because I didn't have to give you anything. So he moseys on out of there and he comes back in my room, my office later, and he steals out of my office. So now I'm agitated. So the other 2 little girls are in there while I'm talking to him. They didn't skip, and I'm talking to him about, after I took the time to give you something, and that's what you would do to me. And I don't know if y'all remember a man named Mr. Hanchett who gave someone a ride. He was a teacher.
Curly? Yeah. He taught when I was in high school.
You remember what happened to Mr. Hanchett?
I can't remember, no.
Mr. Hanchett was... met his demise by being Mr. Hanchett. So someone took his life on Fitz and Ryder Road after he gave him a ride. And all I kept thinking was, I gave to you.
I vaguely remember. I forgot that's. I'll be doggone.
Yeah. But your first thought was, oh my God, you love this man.
Right.
So I'm looking at this kid and I'm like, wow. And I go home and I tell my daughter over and over, like, the different stuff that happens to my day or whatever. So in that moment, the 2 little girls said, Miss Daniel, you care too much. And I said, oh, see, y'all been broken. You should care. But the refinement, sometimes people, in the words of my Aunt Jane, God rest her soul, people will make you become someone you don't want to become. They will force your hand, and you have to give them something that you don't want to give them. So in this role, I've had to suspend because my words didn't move you. And I have to do things to protect the greater good. I have to remove you because I got a school to move. I got to protect all of them because you don't want to conform to what it is that we say the dream of Dr. King is. You're happy in the chaos and the nightmare. So this is not the place for you. And so as ugly as, because the Helen of 20 years ago, who, by the way, I'm so glad she's not the Helen now because I could have gave them a run for their money. But I've had to refine and shape myself a little differently to not be such a giver and to know, hey, that's enough. This is the boundary. Because you're going to keep taking from me until I don't have any more to give. And so I had to set limits. And I'm still learning how to set them. Because I'm a sucker for, hope. I am a sucker for hope. And believing that we can be something different. But I also taught in my civics class, I write the word believe on the board. And I say, in everything you believe, there's a little lie. And I circle the word L-I-E in believe. I said, so sometimes I'm believing a lie. Coming to terms with, I cannot save everybody. And that there does have to be structure and boundaries. And even I want to give you the world. Sometimes you don't want to be a part of this. And I have to.
So I taught you that you can have all the hope and give them all the help you can, but ultimately it is up to them to own their future.
Have to.
And that's a completely understand that, and that's a wonderful way to pursue life. And I wish you all the best and pray for you and your students.
Yes.
Definitely.
And when you pray, I'm not asking God for patience, because with patience comes the
you
test.
can't. Yeah.
I don't want that. I want God to breathe life into that place and into those children, to let them know that there is something bigger in them and bigger in the world than what they're seeing in their day-to-day lives. And they can be a part of it. They just have to choose it. When I left Moss Bluff too, there was oh my God, we cried. Me and my coworkers cried, and I can recall one Miss Wilkes. She said, "God is putting you somewhere you're needed." And I was like, but the crazy thing is, my babies from Moss Bluff still, they find me on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I still get emails from them, so the impact is the impact.
Yeah.
I've been having cocktails at Mazin's, and I go to the restroom, and a little girl walks in, "Miss Daniel." And I'm like, "Hey, babe."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Remember we flew kites? Remember you cooked funnel cakes with us?" So sometimes the lesson isn't about civics, or it's not about math. Sometimes the lesson is that seed you planted. My era will end when I can no longer make the impact, or when I tell people I'm a dinosaur. Like, you see the world changing, and there are ways that I refuse to compromise. I refuse. So I decided that one of my students had passed away in Elite, little girl, Ryan Green. She died from cancer. And it was so quick. It took her in 21 days. Found out, airlifted her to New Orleans, and that rocked me, because I had Ryan. I had the little girl for so long. So I was just like, what am I supposed to do with whatever? And so part of me was like, I don't want to get close to kids like this anymore. What's what? And picking up children off of the floor as they're screaming at her casket, I was like, okay, regroup. So a part of my walking away or retiring from Elite was watching the dance world change into something that I'm like, that's not for me. This is my standard. I'm not willing to deviate from this. The world can give its terms, but then you can say, no, I refuse to compromise in that way. So I'm going to exit with dignity, grace, and humility. And I walked away, but on my terms. And so with education,
you'll know that.
I'll know
when you see it. Yeah.
I'll know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you say this is the deal breaker, or hey, I'm not doing this effectively. I'm not what they need to hear. I can't reach them. So when it's that moment, then it's that moment.
Yeah.
But until then, we rolling.
Keep on trucking.
Yes.
That's kind of the way I'm through, Charles.
Yeah.
Helen, John, thank y'all. I'm going to turn this off, but
Okay.
thank you so much. This has been a wealth of
It has
understanding.
been.